What's up everybody? This is a V8 powered Miata, officially called the Miata SS, and it's done by a company called Sarasota Super Sport Performance, who kindly met up with me and provided this vehicle for me to review for you guys today. So about this whole package, so it's an LS swap Miata. It was the program that was originally done by Flying Miata, if you're familiar with them, and then it was taken over by Sarasota Super Sport Performance, and they were the ones that finished the job here for this ND V8 Miata swap. And so it's a very extensive kit. I'll get into all the details of it here. It's a very, very impressive package. Just the amount of stuff that's gone into this is really impressive and mind-blowing. Just a V8 Miata, a car that even with the swap weighs less than 3,000 pounds, yet has almost 500 horsepower at the crank. Should be a good time. So looking forward to driving this one. But you know, as far as the styling here for it, you know, he really wanted to make this basically, you know, if a Mazda engineer was able to have some kind of pet project and just go crazy, that's kind of what he wanted. So it's really an OEM kind of appearance thing, very polished, you know, no crazy wings or, you know, hoods or anything like that. It looks, if you didn't hear it, you would think it's just a regular Miata most likely. I mean, you do have some nice wheels here on it. You have the little front lip, the little aero kit here. You also see there's a nice little ducktail spoiler there on the back with the whole actual trunk lid there. It's integrated and looks really nice, especially here with the RF versions. But this package, by the way, is of course available with a soft top as well if you'd like. And I also love the center exit exhaust there in the back there, a little rear diffuser. And that exhaust, by the way, is an active exhaust. There's so many cool things we'll cover as we drive this vehicle. But you know, from the outside, as long as the car is off, it is a complete sleeper. No one really even know you have a V8 under the hood here, or you know, half the performance this thing has. The interior of the Miata SS will largely depend on the donor vehicle because you do have to supply the donor car for the conversion. So, you know, as far as interior colors and niceties like this one is the cloth seats, but they do add a few nice little touches here with this upgrade package for the Miata. So you have this leather wrapped wheel that's a little bit thicker here at the 10 and 2 notches, a flat bottom, has the Alcantara wrapping on the top and the bottom, and is a really nice beefier feel for the Miata wheel. I love these retro gauges. He said they're inspired by the GT40 gauges, and I love the little, you know, trim rings and just the retro font. And also, like, you have the Alcantara shift boot and e-brake boot with the red stitching, which is a nice touch. And you also will see a unique shift knob here, as well as a short shifter, so a little bit of a different appearance than a regular Miata. But outside of that, it's going to be, you know, the same as any other Miata here. And you know, again, the sky's the limit as far as aftermarket stuff you want to do to these to make it even more special. But some really nice touches here they've included. All right, so start up and go for a drive. You just have the regular Miata key, of course, here, but a nice heavy clutch pedal, definitely heavier than a regular ND Miata clutch pedal. But anyway, just hit the engine start button, and it roars to life. And this one has the optional hot cam, which gives you even more of the lopier feel than what you're going to have with the low profile cam you can get on these as well. So setting off here in the Miata SS. So first things you'll notice about it, there's so much to take in because obviously everything is basically different outside of the seating position, honestly. So you know, you have first off hydraulic power steering, which is actually a rack from the 5th gen Camaro. So that's honestly the first thing that I'm feeling is just, you know, it doesn't feel like Miata steering, and that's good. I mean, you know, Miata steering's pretty good as far as electric power steering goes in the NDs, but you know, having hydraulic in this is something you don't get in any modern car these days, and that alone is just something to savor. But of course, the dominating thing is going to be this V8 engine. It's the LS3 6.2 liter V8 engine, and like I said, this one has the hot cam to make it even a little bit more aggressive with the setup there. But you know, it's really nice and smooth. So I mean, we also have a 5-mode active exhaust here on this, and so like this is at the second loudest setting, where if you're below 25% throttle, it's nice and quiet. You know, you hear a little bit there, but not much. But then the second you give it just a little bit of gas, it opens up and sounds really good. The other things you'll notice immediately is that this also has a 5th gen Tremec 6-speed manual transmission from the 5th gen Camaro there. All new parts, by the way, for this build. Nothing is a used thing. 5th gen Camaros, for anyone who's unfamiliar, it's been a while since I've even driven a 5th gen Camaro. I mean, it's a heavier shifter. It's nice and notchy though with those Tremecs, and this one having the short shifter makes it even extra notchy there. We even have, you know, little corners here. I'm not driving quick or anything, but what I'm really impressed with too, this has Fox dampers and some iBox springs, and it's this whole package that it actually was developed for this car in particular. And there are adjustable dampers, and there's also adjustable sway bars that are in their middle setting currently. But the ride is also really nice and smooth. You know, there isn't any kind of crazy drop on this car. You know, it's pretty close to stock ride height here. It's just a nice, smooth driver here, and honestly, whenever you're just cruising here, you know, off throttle or light throttle, you really don't even feel like it's anything wildly different. So it is very much like OEM plus in a lot of ways, and I really appreciate that, because you know, there's all kinds of crazy project cars and things that are undrivable and just, you know, crazy. This is a really polished kit. You can tell it from just the very first time you set off here. It's all very nice and smooth. Again, it's just the adjustment period of I'm in a Miata, yet I have a heavier clutch than, you know, what you usually have in a Miata, heavier shifter, heavier steering and all that as well. But I mean, just again, so much more feedback, and just it feels really, really good here. And you know, also tires are a reasonable size. We only have 235 wide tires. That's about as wide as you can go without doing anything drastic to the bodywork, and is so far, you know, doing a really good job here. You know, you have nice, decent sidewalls, so that also helps out with the ride. You know, with these 17-inch wheels, they resisted the urge to do some giant wheels. And you have a nice light flywheel, honestly, for something like this. So rev matching my downshift for the first time there, the throttle, you know, jumped up even quicker than I was expecting. So really, I mean, the whole vehicle is so responsive to your inputs, and just feels like it's just ready to just take off and just and it sounds like that as well. And we have traffic, but we have a little tunnel here, and how can you resist a tunnel with this thing? So here we go. And that was half throttle, by the way. It wasn't even anything crazy. All right, but I'm gonna turn down onto this back road here and roll into it here and see how it does. If you weren't able to tell there, you have no traction control and no stability control with this swap, which means you really got to use your brain, because again, 235 wide tires with this much power, and especially this much torque, by the way. It's 436 horsepower at the wheels, 438 pound-feet of torque, and so I mean, you know, around 500 horsepower at the crank or close to it. And man, oh man, it's a lot, you know, for, again, the short wheelbase of the Miata is really the thing that, you know, is, I guess, in your mind the whole time, because, you know, it means that it's a little more twitchy than something else that's, you know, got an LS motor in it. You know, it's not going to be as buttoned down as like a 5th gen Camaro with this same motor. But it does a really good job putting the power down. We actually have the 391 limited slip diff in the rear from a Camaro ZL1, the 5th gen, and then again we have some nice soft tires here, these Falcons, to, you know, give you as much grip as you can really get from a street tire. And so, I mean, but you can feel that it's dancing around, but it's, you know, it was progressive. You know, it could have been snappy or it could have been scary, but instead it kind of gave me a little bit of a warning, like, okay, you know, you're approaching the limits of grip here, you know, so that it's not going to immediately bite back harshly. And we will have a bunch of great corners coming up here we can try out. But I'm going to put the exhaust in its loud mode, just because who doesn't want to hear V8 sounds in a V8 Miata video, right? So I'm going to turn this on, and you get that nice burble there all the time if you want. Active exhaust is the best thing ever. This one is a 5-mode active exhaust, by the way. But oh yeah, and I love all the driver inputs. It's hard to imagine, you know, a Miata getting better from a driver input standpoint, but, you know, with the steering and just the quicker, you know, more precise throttle and everything, it is absolutely just better in all the ways. Now, as far as the braking goes, to haul this stuff down to a stop, even though this vehicle, by the way, curb weight is just under 3,000 pounds, it's like 2,990 or so. So I mean, a decent weight gain over, you know, a 2,500 pound RF or something like that. But again, so much more power, so much more performance. But anyway, so to slow that down, we have more than enough brakes. So the Wilwood big brake kit here that's got 6 piston rotors in the front, 4 pistons in the rear, and plenty of braking power for a little car like this. Should be great for track driving. I mean, this is primarily built as a street vehicle, but, you know, you have more than enough braking power there for track sessions, and you know, this thing is very stout. You know, the cooling and all that, everything's been gone through. It was a meticulous process. It takes 180 hours to build one of these. They only do about 6 a year currently. So I mean, it's definitely a labor of love, and it's something they really, pour their heart and soul into this. And it's awesome, that they continued on this project that Flying Miata started here. But I'm gonna go into some tighter corners here. I mean, this motor's so torquey, you really don't even need to downshift, but just to get some higher rev sounds and exciting. And I mean, even on this very road, I've driven some very exciting cars before. I've driven a Ferrari 458 Spider, like some really special stuff, and they're fun and make great sounds and do all kinds of other awesome stuff. I've driven all kinds of wild stuff on these roads, but this is definitely an experience unlike any other, and it's very safe to say that. I mean, there's very few V8 swap Miatas in general in the world, and then ND ones that are as well sorted out as this one is. It's quite the package. And I mean, it's also impressive, the ride quality. I mean, these roads are pretty smooth, even though we got a lot of elevation change and stuff, but they're nice, smooth roads. But, what I'm noticing is, the ride, like I mentioned earlier, is so nice and smooth, but you also don't have the roll that you have with Miatas typically. So, Miatas, they kind of engineer that in deliberately, right? Because it's lower limits, it's a slower car, and they want you to be able to have that fun. But with this, it's just so flat, point and shoot, and, it does grip well. Like, I can apply gas out of the corner and not immediately go sideways. Before I drove this car, I wasn't sure if that was going to be a guarantee, but it is. So it's, obviously, again, you got to use your brain, but like, I'm kind of impressed at, just again, how polished this feels. I've driven plenty of project cars and really wild stuff before, but this really does feel, I think like what the owner intended to, set out to do with this package is to make it an OEM plus kind of thing almost in some ways. And I hope that someday a Mazda engineer gets to drive one of these, because it would be a revelation, I think, for them. Just so much fun. Obviously something you can't do OEM, unfortunately, these days. It's just, it's a very, very tough business for anything with a V8 and a manual and a convertible, to be totally honest, let alone, something like this. But it's fantastic. But you know what? We're coming up some nice straight roads. Let's do some more accelerations. Rolling into it again. Woo! Man, and the nose lifts up too, even though we have a nice, firm suspension. I mean, the nose lifts up. You get that drama of the body motion as well. And oh man, and that sound in this little package is just hilarious. And yeah, these brakes feel really good too. In addition to just being strong brakes, they have really good feel. They bite right towards the top of the pedal, which is, you want that instant response. But there's enough forgiveness there that they're not gonna make you bash your head off the steering wheel the second you hit the brakes. They give you, some nice progression in them. So everything is just so nicely tuned in this car. And we got a wall here. We gotta get some sounds next to the wall. Unlike any other, especially at its price tags. That's one of the last, kind of bullet points here to mention is the pricing of this. Probably the big elephant in the room, the big question you might all be wondering. So you do have to provide your own donor car, but beyond that, the package is $75,000. And for an upgrade thing or something, that might sound like a lot at the surface. But whenever you, again, not only just is it the engine, but it's, the transmission, the LSD, the power steering, all these things, and then doing it well and not just tossing a V8 in and calling it a day. It's a really comprehensive package. And, say you get a donor car for 25 grand or even a little bit less, for $100,000 or right under that, what else are you going to get that's this wild? I mean, there's plenty of fun stuff, of course, but what other stuff this wild can you truly get at that price tag these days? I mean, everything's ballooning in price, and 100 grand buys you a nice, decent, Cayman GTS or something like that. This is a lot more thrilling. Again, not for everyone, and again, very rare, very limited. These aren't going to be easy to get, but if you're someone who's okay to have the patience to wait and get one of these, and you're okay with the price tag, out. At only $100,000, you're going to stand out from all the other stuff at the car shows. The second you pop the hood, the second you start this thing up, you're going to be the star of the show. You know, how many people have ever seen or even heard of a V8 Miata? And then, you know, you take it for a ride, I mean, it would be a mind-blowing experience. So it's, you know, I think it's a bargain, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, I'm having a ton of fun here, but just truly look at what you can get for $100,000 in the market and compare it to this. You know, even like the awesome Corvette C06 you get these days. I loved that last fall. I drove it, and one of the best cars I've ever driven. But there's no manual there. You know, you have a lot more of a safety net. It's still extreme, it's still fun, and I mean, an amazing car, which also, by the way, is way more than $100,000. But you know, the manual, you know, no nannies, no nothing. It's really just, again, a special experience, and something that you can't easily replicate at any price point, to be totally honest. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, I could go on all day about how fun this thing is, but I mean, bottom line is, you know, it's really well done. It's a fantastic package, and you know, I will say, you know, as far as the Miata character, especially if you're used to like ND2s with a higher revving nature, I mean, this motor, you know, red lines at 6,600 RPM, you know, it looks here, so, you know, it's going to give you a different character there. But I mean, how can you argue with this V8 though? I mean, even if it doesn't rev to the moon, you know, it's still just so fun. And I think it still does give you a lot of that Miata fun, of the nice small nature, the you know, playfulness, just in a different way, on, you know, steroids really. But it's so much more thrilling because, again, you have to drive it, which is getting more and more rare in these modern times. And you know, I'm sure, you know, some people would probably like to have, you know, the nannies and all the assistants and all that kind of stuff, but I kind of like that stuff was lost in this transition, because I think that it actually makes the car more visceral, more engaging, more thrilling as a result. And yeah, this thing is fantastic. And really the only caveat here of this is that this package technically isn't CARB certified. So if you live in a CARB state, you know, you need to do emissions or any kind of stuff, that can be a little tricky. There's ways to, you know, work around that. You know, don't let that be a deal breaker, but just be forewarned, you know, it's a little bit more of a hoop to jump through than just, you know, taking this down to your local DMV and registering it, and, you know, getting inspection stickers if you live in a place like PA here, which is a CARB state, and, you know, has to always every year check your tailpipe and all that. Yeah, that's the only thing that, you know, is going to be a little bit of a hoop to jump through. But other than that, I mean, and that is the only one that, you know, is the only thing you have to worry about. And even that is well worth doing for the fun of this car, which again is something you can't get anywhere else from anything else. But anyway, so if you are curious about these, you want to learn more, I'll leave the link in the description, or you can just Google Sarasota Super Sport Performance, and they'd be more than happy to get you on the wait list for one of these if it's something that you're interested in. But anyway, huge thanks once again to them for letting me drive this very special, amazing car. And it is squirmy in the back end. It's really, though, since it's so precise with the throttle, you can really finesse it so well. I feel like this car would be really rewarding on track as a result, because you can, it picks up on your inputs so well. Again, better than most modern cars do. And so, anyway, but yeah, I could go on all day about how amazing this thing is, but I think you get the gist here. And so yeah, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this V8 Miata in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming. Take care.